if you're Minnesota, as you welcome back your former star,
Yes.
are you regretting that deal at this point? Are you concerned about where you are in the standings as you kind of head towards Christmas?
I don't think you're regretting the deal. Also, I'm just looking at the standings here. You're only 2 in the loss column behind the number 2 Grizzlies. I mean, this is how tight and weird the West is at the moment. So yes, they're sitting in 8th, but they're not that so far out of being back to the top of the conference. They've won 6 of their last 7. They're better defensively than I think you're giving them credit for. I think they're 4th overall right now in defensive rating.
So defensively, they're good. Offensively is where they've kind of hit off a cliff.
But they've been smothering. I mean, they really have taken charge of that side of the court, which tells me the energy and the effort and the willingness in that locker room is there.
But they've also got a human, top 5 defense in Rudy Gobert, right?
Yeah,
Like, you're always going to have a good defense when Rudy's out there.
That's important, though.
Yeah.
That's a big deal, and that I think is going to carry them through then this middle chunk of the season. I don't worry about them. I'm not guaranteeing that they're going to get back to the conference finals, but I'm not worried about them that they're going to end the season in 8th in the West. I just don't see that happening. I feel like they had a tough sort of beginning of the season. We saw them stumble. Julius Randle clearly wasn't quite sure what he was supposed to do with himself. They weren't quite sure what to do with him. That has improved. I spoke to him when they were in LA a few weeks ago. He really is a lot more comfortable there now. And they do just sort of seem to be humming now. 6 of 7, that's a run in the NBA. And it seems like they know where they're supposed to be. They're playing together. They're playing for each other. And then therefore the offense kind of, to me, I expect it to come out of that. I don't know if they're going to, set the entire league on fire, but I'm not concerned.
Okay, but when they made the deal, my first reaction, I wrote about it, was this is about money.
I was going to say, I mean, that's why when you say, are they going to regret it? No, because while Karl Anthony Towns is coming to town, so is his salary.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not pocket watching Mark Lowry, Alex Rodriguez, or whoever the hell winds up owning the Timberwolves. Like, you want to own an NBA franchise, spend some money, all right? You want to be, like, this was a team that last season was on a path to winning a championship.
Yeah.
There was no doubt about it. They were on a path to winning a championship. They trade Karl Towns, and whatever they said at the time, like, hey, we're doing it for, depth reasons. Dante DiVincenzo is going to improve our three-point shooting. Julius Randle, you saw what he was when he was healthy last year with New York. Good player. But I never believed that. Like, I believed it was about money. And I still believe it's about money. Like, yeah, they've been playing good basketball as of late. And their defense is still good. But you can't convince me that they're a better team now than they were 6 months ago.
But it's not just about Karl's salary. It was about all the other money that was about to come due there. I mean, there was a lot of financial issues going on and concerns and people who were extension eligible and people they had to give money to. So by getting rid of that huge number with Cat, it has allowed them to have many other spots on the team be where they want them to
right?
be.
Like with Naz Reid, when his contract comes up, that's they'll have a little more financial flexibility to go and do that. But again, it's just money. It's simple as that. It's money. Like, you had a team, but you had a team that was trending towards a championship, and you broke it up over money. Like, I can't get over that. Like that.
I mean, well, first of all, let's not pretend that it's the first organization to be doing that.
It's not. But in recent memory of a team that was in a conference finals that was young and dismantled it in a way that they did, like,
I don't know. I'm not willing to say dismantled. I think that, look, they knew who their star was.
Best player or second best player, whatever you want to put it.
He was not their best player.
Okay.
And they had to take him.
Who was great against Nikola Jokic in the conference semis.
He was, but they had to take him off the floor sometimes throughout the playoffs. So, I mean, look, let's not pretend that it was a perfect situation with Cat in Minnesota. I think that they saw an opportunity to take this huge chunk of money and make a trade that they did think would be viable with Randall coming in and actually work on the floor and let them keep some of their other pieces that they want to keep down the road in the future. Give them some more of that financial flexibility to build around Ant. I don't have any problem with that deal on either side still. And I think that Minnesota, yes, obviously it'd be great for them if they were number 2 in the conference right now, but they're really not that far behind.
Right. So. Everybody, in the West it's all bunched up. I can't look at this team and say they're better. I can't. And now, look, do I expect DiVincenzo to improve his numbers? Yes, because he was really good in New York, and I think he is a really good shooter. I don't know how much more you can expect from Randall. I think he kind of is what he is. He's going to give you 20 points per game. His efficiency numbers aren't terrible, but he's never going to be a lockdown three-point shooter. And not having him out there, or not having Towns out there, takes a dimension away from them. I think, in fact, they're better when Naz Reid and Rudy Gobert are playing together.
But that was part of the gamble, right?
Yeah, that Nas would be ready for an even bigger role. And look, he's a great player. I look, when I watch a lot of Knicks games.
Yeah.
And when I watch Cat putting up these types of numbers, and he's
Bodega Cat,
flawed.
baby.
Look, he's flawed. Defensively, I'm sure he drives Tom Thibodeau crazy a lot. And they still have to figure out what to do when you get Mitchell Robinson and him back in the rotation. But I watch all these numbers, I'm thinking like, man, did you really have to do it? Like, what could this team have been? Like, you can't argue that they would have gotten off to a faster start had Towns been there, because they would have had the chemistry. They know what they're doing together. I don't know. I just think they're a lesser team because of it. And I still don't like the deal. I don't like the deal at all.
You also have to see how Ant develops.
Yeah, you need time with new players and time, especially with the new forward. You're a pick and roll partner there, but I don't love it. I'm not a fan of that deal, but we'll see. I think Towns deservedly will get a great reception.
I think he will, which I think is great, and he deserves it. I mean, we talk about the on-court fit, all of that stuff. Let's not forget, these are human beings. He was in that community for a long time. He was a great public member of that community, donated a lot of money to a lot of places, really put his time out there, and I think the people of Minnesota are going to appreciate that and thank him for it when he gets on the court there.
Are you surprised that he's had this kind of success in New York? Because it did not end well with him and Tom Thibodeau in Minnesota. And I think there was genuine concern that, he's not a soft guy, but he is a kind of happy-go-lucky guy, like a smiling all the time type of guy. There was some concern about plopping him down there into that type of environment. A lot of serious guys in New York, like Jalen Brunson, the star of that team's a serious guy. I wondered how he would fit with that group, and he has been outstanding. His overall numbers, like that rebounding, averaging 14 per game, is a tremendous number. Shooting 44% from three, tremendous numbers. Like, are you surprised at all the way Towns has fit in New York?
I'm not. I mean, he's from New Jersey. It's not like he fell off the turnip truck into New York. Yeah, I've never been to the big city before. I mean, come on. I wasn't worried about his fit back with Tibbs because I knew that the Knicks front office and Tom Thibodeau himself and Karl Anthony Towns himself are all smart enough not to go back into that partnership without some clear conversation and agreement. That was not a trade undertaken lightly. It was not like, I hope it works out. I hope they like each other this time. Obviously, those conversations were had. And Tom was very upfront about the fact that those conversations were had. He's, people are different when they're in a different situation years later. And it seems like they have really found a rhythm with each other and an appreciation for each other that maybe they didn't have earlier in their working partnership. And I don't know, I love seeing the way Karl has thrived there because he is a player who, if he fits in and the team around him can make up for some of the deficiencies that he, like any other player, has, he can he can be a rocket ship man for that team. And that's obviously what they gambled on.
Both teams took a pretty big risk in making that deal. Like the Knicks, that was basically Leon Rose saying like, hey, I know this guy. Tibbs knows this guy. I know that even though we had a team that had some good momentum, great chemistry with all the Villanova guys, I know this guy's going to make us better. And certainly the jury is still out because we haven't seen them in a playoff situation. How playable is Towns against a Boston team? How playable is he with Mitchell Robinson back in the lineup? But I think they can have some confidence that deal did make them better. I don't know how you have that confidence in Minnesota. Like, yeah, they could go on. This run could continue. They could rocket themselves up to second or third in the conference standings. But when I watch that team, and I've watched half dozen of their games, I don't think they're a better version of the one I saw last year. And I don't know that it's possible to get back to that level without a player of the versatility of Towns.
Look, I mean, when I said we'll have to see how Ant develops, it's not because I'm wondering if he's going to develop into a superstar. We already know that. But what we saw in the playoffs last year with Anthony Edwards was he hit a little bit of a wall in a couple places,
he did,
right?
Yeah.
Some of it was physical. Some of it was mental. The level of attention, no matter how much you love the attention, the level of attention in the playoffs is different, both on the court defensively, off the court with the public and the media and everything else. And there were times where he just did not perform to the level that we know he would want to perform at. I expect that to be better this year. I expect in a couple of those very close playoff games that they lost, that Anthony Edwards, this version of him this coming spring, will be the difference in those games. And maybe that is part of how you make up for it too. I just think that they saw the financial numbers ahead of them and they said, this is how we can keep a team together that would be the best team to build around Anthony Edwards as he develops. And it might not be better this season in the short term, but I think big picture, it was the right deal for them to make. I'm still okay with that trade.
I am not
All
okay
right.
with that trade.
We will
I
see.
do not like that trade. I hate when teams make decisions for financial reasons. If you do not want to own an NBA team, don't buy it. Like, sell it.
But
You can
part of
make
it-
billions of dollars selling your team. You want to line your pockets, go right ahead. But if you're going to own an NBA team, you've got to go all in. When you have a team in the conference finals, you don't break it up unless you know you are getting markedly better. And maybe it turns out that way. Maybe DiVincenzo turns it around in the second half, is a 40% three-point shooter. Maybe Randall gets back to that all-NBA form where he was shooting 40% from three. He did have that 1 year where he shot 40% from three. Maybe he gets back to all that. If that happens, I will sit here and issue a mea culpa to the Minnesota Timberwolves and their front office. But right now, they're a lesser version of themselves. They were on that level of where Oklahoma City is right now, where Dallas was last season. Memphis, jury's out on them. We'll see what happens there. But I don't know that they're on that level anymore. I think I might bump them to that second tier in the Western Conference. But
We'll see.
we'll see how it all plays out.